Hello there. So the wild strawberries are ripe. So I'm out picking them. Wild strawberries, they don't stay ripe for very long. You've only got maybe a week where they're ripe before they start to go all mushy and rotten. And they're also sort of in high demand for the birds and the critters. So you got to be on top of them in order to get them before like the field mice do. And they're also pretty hard to spot in the weeds. Yeah. They like to grow down underneath all of this stuff. So back in the olden days, the one of the main sort of holidays of the sort of Iroquoian calendar was the I'm not sure what the right word is, but like strawberry festival. And sort of in the modern day, people sort of, there's speeches and there's dancing and people drink a lot of strawberry juice. In the olden days, it wasn't just sort of a ceremony to acknowledge something that's nice and tasty and you're very sort of thankful for. It was also like a work bee. So like you get the whole community out in the fields picking these little strawberries. And for one person to pick, let's say, a bushel of these little guys, that's a lot of work. It's pretty hard for one person to be out here pick enough for a pie because they're so hard to spot. But if you got like 100 people out here, you could get enough to cook with pretty darn quickly. You could pick the field clean pretty quickly. And so that was one of the sort of purposes of the strawberry festival, is to get everybody out to take advantage of a local treat that won't be around for very long. And sort of the other purpose of it, get people to actually eat them. So it's one thing to, quite often I'll pick a whole bunch of some local plant or whatever, and then I'll sort of forget to take advantage of it. I think I'll save these for something special and then never get around to it. So the sort of purpose of the strawberry festival, you get everybody out in the field to pick them, and it's a good fun communal activity. And then you get everybody together and you consume what you picked, or a big chunk of what you picked. Yeah, so it's to sort of encourage people to take advantage of local bounty while it's available. And stuff like that is kind of lost in the sort of modern day, which is, I think, a shame. People being sort of disconnected from their land and traditions and stuff. The trouble is, as with everything, is capitalism. It's alienation again. Because people can go to the grocery store and buy, I don't know, a bushel of California strawberries for not very much money. Bloody horsefly. Let me just kill this guy. Hang on. There we go. That's gotcha. Because people can go to the grocery store and buy a bushel of commercial strawberries, greenhouse strawberries, pretty quickly and cheaply, people don't sort of appreciate the wild strawberries because there's so much work to get. You know, these things taste bloody delicious compared to the grocery store stuff. So just a little couple more things to talk about with these. So they're pretty little. But they're very sort of flavorful. They've got sort of one of these little things, it's like the quarter of, it's like a quarter the size of, it's about the quarter, oh heck, bloody tongue. It's a hard old thing being a presenter and having a stutter. Anyway, so these things are about a quarter the size of like a garden strawberry. And they're like an eighth the size of one of those California strawberries. But these have got more flavor than any of these, particularly like those these have got about the same amount of flavor as a garden strawberry, but it's all compacted. It's all concentrated. These things are like a party in your mouth where everyone's invited. And like the California strawberries don't even compete with these on any level. The California ones are big, but they just taste like water. So another sort of thing that's different with these, apart from like their size, is the texture of these. I can't sort of demonstrate that in a video, but these things are really sort of soft on the inside. They're really sort of delightful to chew through. It's something that's lost in the domestic strawberries, particularly the California ones. You bite into those California ones, it's a little bit like iceberg lettuce. They're crunchy, or like maybe like watermelon or something. The reason that they're like that, the domestic strawberries, is that they're designed to be stored and transported. So the California ones, they got to come in all the way from California. So they got to be fairly sort of solid and robust in order to survive that transportation. Whereas these ones are designed to be eaten where they are, so they don't have to have any sort of solidity. Some of them are so soft. When they're properly ripe, they're so soft that you can't pull them off the plant without mushing them. And that's something that's lost through the process of capitalism, really. Oh, a mouse got that one, or something. Which means that this was a good day to come out and pick, because once the mice start to notice them, they don't last long. So these berries here are just growing in a field. And they're kind of hard to find and hard to pick because of that. And I'm brushing up against thistles on my arms, and I'm probably picking up a bunch of wood ticks, which is not ideal. What I should do is sort of create a bed for these little things, a place where they can grow sort of ideally. That one's eaten by bugs. Almost got a quart. So the sort of, back in the olden days, these were sort of semi-domesticated. And that's sort of the Iroquoian way of doing a lot of things. Rather than sort of like growing them specifically, what you do is you create an environment for the wild ones to thrive. I've sort of talked about that with regards to deer previously. Like, people didn't farm deer, but they would manage their woodlots and their fields. They plant extra corn to encourage the deer to make a home nearby and stuff like that. And so people would do the same sort of thing with these. These were never like properly domesticated, like selectively bred or anything, but people would do like controlled burns in order to sort of help these things thrive, reduce the competition. Strawberries are sort of very low growing, so they're able to survive grass fires a lot better than just grass. So people would do a controlled burn, get out all the weeds, and then these things would be able to sort of take over an area, make them easier to sort of spot and cultivate. It's hard to multitask. So the other thing I want to sort of mention is I started to find it berries to be a fascinating evolution. Oh, this one's not good. I find berries to be a very fascinating evolutionary development. It's hard to film these because here's a little plant that wants to be eaten. Here's these little bright red things in this field of green, just sort of advertising to everybody who's walking by, here I am, look at me, look at me. You go down and you look at it and you eat it, and it's this little bubble of sugar and flavor. It's just these little plants, thousands of little plants in this field just crying out, eat me, eat me, eat me. I find it so amusing to think about stuff like that. I'm not much of a sort of a spiritual person. I'm not really much for sort of anthropomorphizing things. But like if you were to sort of anthropomorphize plants, I think that berries and stuff would have a very sort of pleasant character. I think they'd be nice people. I don't know what the heck point that is. Maybe I'll cut that. Anyway, so the next thing I want to mention is that there can be a pretty significant sort of size difference in the wild strawberries. They both taste delicious, but one of them's a lot sort of bigger. And so growing up, I was most familiar with these, with them being sort of the little one there, kind of being the size of like a cranberry or something, a currant. And then this year, going through my field sort of more thoroughly, I'm finding spots where they're great big ones like this one, still kind of maybe half the size of like a garden strawberry, but a lot bigger than the little one. And so what I think that has to do with is like the nutrients available. And so most of the ones throughout my field are just kind of little ones like that. Every so often I find a little patch of great big ones. So like some little spot where the nitrogen's slightly higher or something, where there's more potassium or something. I don't know what the chemical would be. And I think most people are familiar with the little wee ones. The reason for that is that our sort of soil in South Ontario is all really bad. So we had a dust bowl back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and we lost like 3 feet of topsoil across pretty much all of Southern Ontario. So everywhere you go in South Ontario, the soil is going to be depleted. And so these kind of little wee ones are going to be more common than the big ones. And so I bet if I like prepared a proper garden bed where I had like good soil and compost and stuff, I could get like some decent sized ones pretty consistently. And the other sort of thing that I want to mention on that point is that people back 200 years ago would have been more familiar with them being kind of this size rather than little wee things, because they still had all their topsoil back then. Anyway, that's that point. Anyway, I sort of I derive a lot of sort of pleasure, a lot of joy from these little berries. It's like nature itself rewarding you, congratulating you for paying attention and for being sort of connected to your space. Because like if I'd come out here, if I only came out in this field every other week, I'd have missed them, more likely than not. You got to sort of be in space every day or every other day, just so that you can sort of see when they're starting to ripen, when they're properly ripe, and all this, that, and the other. So that's that point.